The sun was setting over the ocean as I stepped onto the balcony of our rented beach house, the salt-tinged breeze gently tousling my hair. It was day 3 of what was supposed to be a relaxing vacation with friends, but relaxation wasn't exactly what I was feeling at that moment. My name is Alex, and I'd come to this vibrant coastal town with a group of friends I'd known since college. We were all in our late 20s now, navigating the complexities of adult life while trying to maintain the connections that had defined our formative years. This vacation was meant to be a break from our usual routines, a chance to reconnect and create new memories. Among our group was Jamie, someone I'd always been drawn to but never quite had the courage to pursue. Jamie had this effortless charisma, the kind that drew people in without trying. Dark hair that fell just right, a laugh that made everyone want to be in on the joke, and an energy that seemed to elevate any room. We'd always had this undeniable chemistry, but timing and circumstances had never aligned for us to explore it further. Until this trip, perhaps. The beach house we'd rented was perfect, spacious enough for our group of 6, with floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the ocean like a living painting. The crown jewel of the property, though, was the hot tub on the back deck, overlooking the water. It was the kind of luxury none of us could afford in our daily lives, and we'd been making the most of it since our arrival. That evening had started like any other on our trip. We'd spent the day exploring the town, browsing through quirky shops, and sampling local cuisine. As the day wound down, someone suggested we open a bottle of wine and relax in the hot tub. It seemed like the perfect way to end the day, unwinding in warm, bubbling water while sharing stories and laughter. Little did I know that this ordinary suggestion would lead to an extraordinary turn of events. Let me paint the picture of our hot tub setting, because the atmosphere plays such an important role in what happened next. The deck was illuminated by string lights that created a soft, golden glow against the darkening sky. The hot tub itself was nestled in the corner of the deck, partially secluded by potted palms that swayed gently in the evening breeze. Steam rose from the surface of the water, creating an almost mystical ambience as it caught the light. We all changed into our swimwear and gathered around the hot tub, drinks in hand. The group consisted of myself, Jamie, and our friends Morgan, Taylor, Riley, and Jordan, a close-knit bunch who'd seen each other through breakups, job changes, and all the milestones of early adulthood. There was always an ease to our interactions, a comfort that comes from years of shared experiences. As we settled into the hot tub, the warm water immediately began to work its magic, melting away the tension from our day of exploration. The jets created a pleasant hum that formed the backdrop to our conversation, occasionally punctuated by the sound of waves crashing on the shore below. We talked about everything and nothing, reminiscing about college days, sharing updates on our current lives, and speculating about what the future might hold. The wine flowed freely, and with it, our inhibitions began to lower. The conversation grew more animated, more personal. It was during a brief lull that Jamie, eyes twinkling with mischief, made the suggestion that would change the course of the evening. "Let's play truth or dare," Jamie proposed, swirling the wine in the glass with a casual elegance that made even this childish game suggestion seem sophisticated. The reaction was mixed, a few groans, a couple of enthusiastic agreements. Truth or Dare was a game we'd played countless times in college, often with hilarious or embarrassing results. But there was something different about playing it now, as adults, in the intimate setting of a hot tub under the stars. "Come on," Jamie persisted. "When was the last time we did something spontaneous? We're always talking about adulting and responsibilities. Let's have some fun like we used to." There was a certain logic to this that was hard to argue with. We'd all been lamenting how adult life had stolen some of the carefree joy from our younger days. Maybe this was exactly what we needed, a throwback to simpler times, but with the added wisdom and confidence that comes with age. "I'm in," I found myself saying, surprising even myself with my eagerness. Perhaps it was the wine, or the warm water, or simply being on vacation, but I felt a sense of adventure bubbling up inside me. One by one, the others agreed, and soon we were arranging ourselves in a loose circle in the hot tub, ready to begin. The rules were simple: choose truth or dare when it's your turn, and face the consequences of your choice. We decided to start with Morgan, who predictably chose truth. "Have you ever had a crush on anyone in this hot tub?" Riley asked, wasting no time getting to the juicy questions. Morgan blushed visibly, even in the dim lighting. "Yes, actually. I had a massive crush on Jordan during sophomore year." This revelation was met with hoots and hollers. Jordan looked genuinely surprised, and the two exchanged a glance that suggested this information might lead to an interesting conversation later. The game continued, with truths revealing secret opinions and hidden experiences, and dares ranging from the silly. Taylor had to do an impression of our old college professor to the slightly more daring. Riley had to send a flirtatious text to a contact of the group's choosing. The atmosphere was playful, charged with a mixture of nostalgia and new tension as we learned things about each other we'd never known before. Throughout these early rounds, I couldn't help but notice Jamie watching me with an intensity that made my skin tingle despite the heat of the water. Our eyes would meet briefly, then one of us would look away, creating a dance of glances that felt significant somehow. I tried to focus on the game, but my awareness of Jamie's presence was overwhelming. Then came the moment that would change everything. It was Jamie's turn, and without hesitation, the choice was dare. Jordan, who had a knack for creating mischief, thought for a moment before issuing the challenge. I dare you to pick someone in this hot tub for your next dare. It seemed like a simple enough task, just picking someone else to be the subject of a dare. But the way Jamie's eyes immediately locked onto mine made it clear that this wasn't going to be simple at all. Alex, Jamie said, my name sounding different somehow when spoken in that context, with that intent. I pick Alex. The group let out a collective, "Oh," sensing that something interesting was about to happen. I felt my heart rate quicken, partly from nervousness, partly from excitement. What was Jamie planning? Okay, Jordan continued, clearly enjoying the role of Daremaster. Jamie, I dare you to sit on Alex's lap for the next 3 rounds of the game. Time seemed to stand still for a moment. The proposition hung in the air between us, charged with possibility. In college, this might have been just another silly dare, but now, with years of unspoken attraction between us, it felt monumental. Jamie's expression was unreadable, a mixture of amusement, challenge, and something deeper I couldn't quite identify. Well, Alex, is that okay with you? All eyes were on me now. I could feel the weight of expectation, the collective held breath of our friends who had likely noticed the tension between Jamie and me over the years. I had a choice to make. I could laugh it off, suggest an alternative dare, and maintain the status quo. Or I could say yes and step into unknown territory. Sure, I heard myself say, trying to sound casual despite the thundering of my heart. It's just a game, right? But we both knew it wasn't just a game. Not anymore. Jamie moved through the water toward me, creating gentle waves that lapped against my chest. Our friends watched with varying degrees of amusement and curiosity as Jamie positioned to sit on my lap. There was a moment of awkwardness as we figured out the logistics. The hot tub wasn't exactly designed for this kind of arrangement, but then Jamie was settled, back against my chest, the weight of pleasant pressure that sent my senses into overdrive. Comfortable? Jamie asked, turning slightly to look at me over one shoulder. Surprisingly, yes, I admitted, trying to maintain my composure despite the intimacy of our position. The game continued, but for me, everything had narrowed to the points of contact between Jamie's body and mine. The soft pressure as Jamie shifted to answer a question. The brush of wet hair against my cheek when Jamie turned to laugh at someone's dare. The subtle scent of coconut sunscreen mixed with chlorine. It was intoxicating. I tried to participate in the game, answering my truths and performing my dares, but my mind was elsewhere. I was acutely aware of every movement, every breath we took in unison. When Jamie laughed, I could feel the vibrations through my own chest. When I spoke, Jamie would sometimes lean back slightly, as if to better feel my voice. The 3 rounds passed both too quickly and not quickly enough. When Jordan announced that the lap dare was officially completed, there was a moment of hesitation. Jamie turned to look at me again, our faces closer than they had ever been. I should probably move back to my spot, Jamie said, but made no immediate effort to do so. Probably, I agreed, equally reluctant to end this moment. With what seemed like deliberate slowness, Jamie finally moved away, sliding back through the water to the original spot across from me. The absence of contact left me feeling oddly bereft, as if something essential had been taken away. The game continued, but something had shifted in the dynamic. Jamie and I kept catching each other's eyes, small smiles playing at our lips. Our friends noticed, of course they did, but mercifully didn't comment directly. Instead, they seemed to tacitly agree to help move things along by crafting their truths and dares to push us closer together. When Taylor asked Jamie, "Truth, what's the real reason you picked Alex for that dare?" the answer made my breath catch. Because I've been looking for an excuse to get closer to Alex for years, Jamie admitted, I was never leaving mine. The dare just gave me the perfect opportunity. The honesty of this statement hung in the water between us, rippling outward like the gentle waves from the hot tub jets. Our friends exchanged knowing glances, clearly pleased with this development. As the night progressed, the game gradually wound down, replaced by more general conversation. But Jamie and I remained hyper-aware of each other, exchanging glances that felt like entire conversations. When Riley and Jordan announced they were heading to bed, followed shortly by Morgan and Taylor, neither Jamie nor I made any move to leave the hot tub. And then we were alone, the night sky stretching above us, stars reflecting in the disturbed surface of the water. The string lights continued to cast their gentle glow, illuminating Jamie's face in a way that made my heart ache with longing. "So," Jamie said, breaking the silence that had settled between us. "That was quite a game." I laughed softly. "Yeah, it was. I didn't expect the evening to take that turn." "Are you glad it did?" Jamie asked, moving slightly closer through the water. I considered the question, though I already knew the answer. "Yes," I said simply. "I am." Jamie smiled then, a genuine smile that reached all the way to those expressive eyes. "Me too. Though I have to admit, I've been thinking about being that close to you for a long time. The dare just gave me the perfect excuse." "Why did you need an excuse?" I asked, genuinely curious. "We've known each other for years." Jamie sighed, creating ripples in the water. "Because you're important to me, Alex. You're not just someone I'm attracted to, you're my friend. And I didn't want to risk that friendship if you didn't feel the same way." The honesty of this statement touched me deeply. It was exactly how I'd felt, too afraid to risk our friendship for something that might not work out. But now, sitting here under the stars, it seemed ridiculous that we'd both been feeling the same way without ever speaking of it. I felt the same, I admitted. I've always been drawn to you, but the timing never seemed right. And then as we got older, the stakes felt higher somehow. Jamie nodded in understanding. "Adult relationships are complicated. We have more to lose now than we did in college. But maybe we also have more to gain," I suggested, feeling a surge of courage. Jamie's eyes lit up at this, and without further hesitation, moved through the water until we were side by side. "Can I kiss you, Alex?" No dares, no games. Just us. The question was so simple, yet so profound in its implications. This wasn't part of a game anymore. This was real life, with real consequences and real possibilities. But looking at Jamie, at the person I'd been drawn to for so long, I knew there was only one answer I wanted to give. "Yes," I whispered, and then Jamie's lips were on mine, warm and soft, and tasting faintly of wine. The kiss was gentle at first, a question being asked and answered. But it quickly deepened, years of unspoken desire finally finding expression. Jamie's hands came up to cup my face, and mine found their way to Jamie's waist, pulling us closer together in the warm water. When we finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Jamie rested a forehead against mine. "I should have suggested truth or dare years ago," Jamie murmured, making me laugh. "Better late than never," I replied, stealing another quick kiss because I could now, because the barrier between friendship and something more had finally been crossed. We stayed in the hot tub for another hour, talking and kissing and exploring this new dimension of our relationship. We talked about why we'd waited so long, about our fears and hopes, about what this might mean for our future. The conversation flowed as easily as it always had between us, but now with an added layer of intimacy that made everything feel new and exciting. When we finally decided to get out of the hot tub, our fingers were pruned and the night had grown cooler. Jamie took my hand as we dried off, a simple gesture that felt significant in its casualness. This wasn't just a one-time thing, a vacation fling to be forgotten when we returned to real life. This was the beginning of something. As we made our way back into the beach house, Jamie paused at the door to my room. "I'm not expecting anything more tonight," Jamie said softly. "This is all new, and I want to do it right. But I wanted to say goodnight properly." The kiss that followed was tender and full of promise. When we separated, Jamie's smile was radiant. "Good night, Alex. I'll see you in the morning." "Good night," I replied, watching as Jamie walked down the hallway to the next room. As I closed my door and leaned against it, I couldn't help but smile. What had started as a simple game of truth or dare had evolved into something much more meaningful. The dare that had put Jamie in my lap had been the catalyst, but the feelings had been there all along, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through my window and the sound of waves crashing on the shore. For a moment, I wondered if the previous night had been a dream. It had the surreal quality of something too good to be true. But then there was a soft knock at my door, and when I opened it, Jamie was standing there with 2 cups of coffee and that same radiant smile. "Good morning," Jamie said, offering me one of the cups. I thought we could watch the sunrise together on the deck. As we sat side by side on the deck chairs, Watching the sun climb higher in the sky and paint the ocean in shades of gold and pink, Jamie's hand found mine. Our fingers intertwined naturally, as if they'd been doing this for years. "What happens when we go back home?" I asked, voicing the question that had been lingering in my mind. Jamie turned to look at me, expression serious but eyes warm. "Whatever we want to happen. This doesn't have to end with the vacation, Alex. Not for me." The certainty in Jamie's voice eased the worry that had begun to form. "Not for me either," I agreed. As our friends gradually joined us on the deck, bleary-eyed but curious about the new development between us, I couldn't help but think about how a simple game had changed everything. Truth or dare in a hot tub. Such a cliché, perhaps, but sometimes clichés exist for a reason. Sometimes they're the perfect setting for something authentic to bloom. Jamie caught my eye across the deck and winked, a private acknowledgement of what we'd found together. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that this vacation would be remembered not for the sights we saw or the places we visited, but for the moment when Jamie chose dare in my lap, and we both finally found the courage to embrace what had been there all along. The rest of our vacation unfolded with a new energy, a sense of possibility that colored everything we did. Jamie and I explored not just the coastal town but also this new relationship, finding that the foundation of friendship we'd built over the years made for something stronger, deeper than either of us had expected. And when it was time to return to our everyday lives, we did so not with regret that the vacation was ending, but with excitement for the journey we were just beginning. Sometimes the most meaningful adventures start with the simplest choices, like suggesting a game of truth or dare in a hot tub on a warm summer night. Total_char_count, 18,534.